I've got a serious case of the gym jams. I'm standing fewer than 20 feet from a 1969, and a half, Citroen DS parked in the shade of Point Mugu Rock, just a few miles north of Malibu on the Pacific coast. The owner of the car, Jeffson, Instagram's pinhead, is explaining the startup procedure and, instead of actually listening, I'm nervously shuffling from foot to foot, secretly hoping the iconic rock will lose from its eternal moorings, roll as rocks do, and crush enough of the car that I can go home early. It's not that I want the world to lose another weirdo French car, but I'm about to drive my hero, a car I've loved for decades, and I'm petrified that it won't live up to my expectations. And if that happens, I don't know what I'll do with myself, or my eBay search settings. Jeff hands me the keys and walks confidently over to the passenger side. His nonchalance is only adding to my stress. How do I start it again? I forgot. Better he thinks I'm an idiot than learns the truth that I was trying to use telekinesis to destroy his baby. I flop into the world's most comfortable seat and sink into what feels like 20 inches of foam and leather, click the key into the ignition, which is tucked between my legs right under the monospoke steering wheel, and reach for the starter button just to the right. Nothing can stop it now. I'm finally going to drive a Citroen DS. If you're looking for a full history on the DS, the rabbit hole goes as deep as you want. It's a fascinating car from a truly fascinating company, so I'll be brief. It's October of 1955 and the Paris Motor Show is in full swing. Across the pond this year, America saw the introduction of the straight edges of the Tri-5 Chevy and Ford's Thunderbird. But even Europe, a little more daring that year with the Carmen Ghia and Mercedes 190, wasn't ready for what the French were about to drop. It would also help to remember at this time that Citroën was selling the snail-shaped, built for rural farmers 2CV and the traction Avant, which debuted in 1934 looking like something from 1929. The sheets came off. The world's collective jaw dropped. Citroën recorded 80,000 pre-orders, with deposit, before the show closed. It wasn't just that the DS was a visual stunner, either. The DS was front drive with the engine mounted far behind the front axle and the transmission mounted in front of the engine. It featured inboard brakes. But the big news was the hydraulic system. Instead of simply assisting the brakes and the steering, the hydraulics on the DS gave life to the self-leveling suspension and the clutch, too. This is why Citroen DS ownership is so terrifying and exciting. Owing in part to the importance and omnipresence of the hydraulic fluid, you can't just start up a DS and go. Once the car turns over, you wait for the pumps to stop whirring while the car re-levels. Then you wait for them to prime and stop whirring again. It only takes about 30 seconds, but the noises and feels as pumps pump and fluid finds its force level are bizarre. It's like starting a boat and then waiting for the ocean to calm before you get going. I've got the clutch buried in the carpet as I triple confirm the retrofitted, 70 spec column-mounted 5-speed manual. This car was born with a 4 on the tree, is in neutral. None of the gears feels particularly positive, but neutral is even messier. There's probably 4-5 inches of lateral travel in this space. Shifting this quickly, even quickly enough to not get rear-ended in traffic, is going to be tricky. Take a large bucket and put your keys in the bottom. Now fill that bucket with bouncy balls. Now try and fish your keys out with a 1-inch dowel. That's what this transmission feels like. First